guys. I'm Danii Roundtree.
And I'm Daniel Roundtree.
And you're listening to
Tree Talk. So we definitely have a ton of exciting topics yet again today.
Yes,
And we
sir.
always start out the first segment with, what is it, sis?
What's happening?
What's happening? And you know that.
What's happening? What's happening? Hey!
Okay. Yeah. And what's happening in the world right now, obviously, we have a lot of crazy stuff to talk about. And we'll get into
Absolutely.
that later. But my question is, where the hell did coronavirus go?
Listen, man.
COVID-19 coronavirus.
Listen, it ain't
What's the
going
name?
nowhere, Daniel. They're just not talking about it no more.
I'm saying, where in the world did it go? It seems as if it has vanished. Now, I do live in Texas, and it does appear that the cases have skyrocketed.
Yes.
However, I haven't heard anything about deaths. And with our mom
But
being a mad scientist and our uncle being a mad scientist, we know a little bit about science, right, sis?
right, but you haven't heard though that you guys have had like a crazy amount of hospital cases, like the most it's
Oh
been
yeah,
since this thing started. And I know we
crazy
have
amount,
also started climbing up down here, excuse me, in Atlanta, the numbers are climbing. So
most
Corona's still here,
definitely.
Dan.
It's still here, but no deaths. So, I mean, maybe the virus mutated and changed. I don't know. I don't want to make this Bill Nye the Science Guy, but I will say, where did it go? Because I haven't heard of people dying as much. And the conspiracy theorists are going nuts yet again about this freaking virus. I just want
Now watch me Diddy.
All right, guys, it is now time for the Diddy Bop of the Week. And I know some of you might not like this Diddy Bop of the Week, but you have to give credit when credit is due. And so, for that reason, I have to nominate 6 9 and Nicki Minaj for Trolls. Y'all, they got 46 million views in one night. Did y'all hear what I said? 46
God
million views in one
dang.
night. So they have broken records. I believe that's they broke the record for a hip hop record for sure. So congrats to y'all. I mean, like I said, I know most of y'all are not really feeling 6 9 right now, but I am a Nicki stan and I'm happy for them, man. Listen, like
Big
Nicki
shout out to
said,
Master Splinter.
oh my
Did
god,
it again. He
right?
did it
Like Nicki
again.
said though, her beef. She don't have no beef with y'all. So y'all, the beef y'all have with 6 9 don't take it over there, okay? So congratulations, y'all, on Trolls. The video was extra ratchet, and I'm happy for y'all. I really am. It was a lot of boobies, Daniel, in the video and boobies.
I didn't see the
If
video.
you haven't seen it,
I have to check it out.
I
I'm
would I
sure
would
it was
recommend
explicit.
praying. Go ahead and pray before you take a look. It is
I'll send one up. Send one up.
it's very interesting.
So I should wait till tomorrow because it is
It
Sunday,
is the
and
Sabbath, so go ahead and wait till tomorrow because
I
you'll
need
definitely
a.
be getting some sins in
Uh,
after you watch the video for sure.
oh man, the kid is making money. Obviously, he's been canceled by a lot of
Listen,
people,
he's not no
including
king
the
of rap,
Billboard.
man, but I gotta give it to this young cat. Like he is the king of marketing, of strong
I
marketing,
was just gonna say, marketing is genius. Probably the
hands
best we've seen
down,
since Soldier Boy,
hands down, hands down. He
hands
is the
down.
soldier boy of this generation. So
Yep.
shout out to shout out to them both, and I fully expect them to chart next week because of those numbers.
Crazy, crazy stuff. Cool. So let's go ahead and transition. Of course, we have our main topic today. It definitely hits close to home, especially for my lovely sister who is an Atlanta
Yes.
resident. And of course, unfortunately, due to the times, it's not that we plan on this podcast being so heavy and deep all the time, but god dang, with 2020 being so freaking nuts and a battleground, we can't not address these issues. It's a public service announcement that we
It
need to
is.
have these conversations and make sure people really understand this is what's going on. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. You need to be aware that this is happening over and over again. So, sis, I want you to go ahead and, I know we just talked about it last night. I was worried and you didn't even know what happened.
I
So,
didn't know that they had set Wendy's on fire. I had knew about the shooting, but I didn't know it had escalated. Okay, and first and foremost, let's say rest in peace to Richard Brooks' family, his children, his partner. We are so sorry for your loss. Okay, and
absolutely
personally,
rest in peace.
I am outraged because I got a chance to watch all 30 minutes of the body cam video. Are we saying that Richard was innocent on all accounts? No. He did, in fact, resist. He did, in fact, reach for the officer's taser. But but can we justify him being shot uh, for being intoxicated publicly, Daniel? And then to
Okay,
shoot
so
him in a drive-through full of people? Man, Dan.
yeah, so I mean, this one is definitely controversial, sis. So we have to look at it a little different, right? Especially seeing where America is at right now. If you think about it, there were people just a week ago, literally hands and feet and nails, arguing about George Floyd's death being justified or not. Obviously, that was a clear-cut murder. So
Right.
this one, I feel I want
This
to be
one
a
is
little
different.
more
This is
neutral
different.
in understanding. Okay, he was drunk. It wasn't a scuffle. He was beating those cops. He was beating those cops. There's no
I
nice
see
way
it
to
a
say
little
it.
differently. Danny,
Well, okay,
when
well, hold
you're
on.
when you're inebriated, you're gonna react a little different. So I think we need
Absolutely.
to be
But would you
objective
have
and
that
listen
same
to.
compassion if he was white or
Absolutely.
Spanish?
Absolutely. I don't, when I say police brutality needs to end, this is not a race issue. They just fired 6 black cops here 2 weeks ago for police
That deserved to
brutality.
be fired. Yep.
So it's not a black or white issue, and white people, in my opinion, need to stop making it seem like black people are just pitting um, ourselves against white cops. It's cops in general. We need overall reform, like we spoke about in the last episode, for sure.
Agreed. Well, so let's backtrack, right? And let's go through the series of events because some people may have not tuned into this yet. It's pretty new. I think it just happened on Saturday. And so initially this was a man who fell asleep in the drive-through line, correct?
Correct. So he fell
Oh,
asleep in the drive-through line, Dan.
yep,
One of the employees at Wendy's called. Police officers came out. They had him move his vehicle. Okay. They noticed then that he apparently kind of swerved a little bit when he moved his vehicle. Okay, cool. They then interrogated him for 30 minutes. And I do have
which
to
was
go
very
into that.
calm, right? It was a
He was
very
very
calm
calm.
interrogation.
He was even laughing and smiling at one point, talking about his girlfriend. The
Yeah,
the the line of questioning, though, I have to question. They asked him about the money in his pocket and why he has so much money. I felt that that was inappropriate, and it's almost like baiting, in my opinion.
I didn't even know that. So can
Yes.
you go in detail to that because that's brand new news to me.
Yeah,
What do
like
you
I said,
mean
I
asking
got to
money
watch
in his
the
pocket?
full 30 minute body cam footage that is now hard to find. I saw it this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. They were asking him stupid questions like, "How come you have so much money in your pocket?" And how is that appropriate? This man even went as far as to say he would walk home, Dan, because his
I did
sister
hear that
lived
part.
across a street from the room. Excuse me, from Wendy's.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, was he wrong for reaching for the
Yeah, well,
taser?
so look, it's a little bit bigger than um wrong or right. There was both wrong and right on both sides.
I
And
agree.
this is one of the few where we could say that because there's so many where, other instances, I think Walter Scott just took off running and they immediately shot him in the back. There was no chase, there was no nothing. So we can't compare and say this is the same as that type of scenario.
It's absolutely
Um,
not. What we're saying is, guys, for one, obviously we are two people of color, so we're going to have a different perspective. And
yeah.
I understand why a black man in the climate that we were in, just coming off of George Floyd, would run out of fear. Okay? That's really what I felt from that, just watching the whole scuffle and everything. And then on top of that, he's inebriated. So his judgment obviously was already impaired. And so I think that's why people are outraged, because a lot of us feel, I know I personally feel, that absolutely he was wrong. The second you resist, you should be locked up for that. However, it did not have to escalate to him being killed. That's where
So
the outrage is.
So let's try to chat about the escalation because we're not gonna have video this week, and want to talk
Right,
about
right.
how it escalated. Obviously, there was 30 minutes of dialogue. They're talking. Things were actually very, very calm. He's explaining to them that he can just walk home. We'll talk about how things could have been handled completely different in the future in just a bit here. but want to touch more on the lines of, okay, as soon as they were trying to arrest him and said, okay, well, you're going to be arrested since your blood alcohol level is too high, that's where things turned left, right? It turned
Right.
into a brawl. There's two officers, one,
Well, Daniel, the second they went to put cuffs on him, I think it hit him
they
that he was
freaked out.
about to be arrested, and he freaked out. He got
He
scared.
absolutely freaked
You
out.
could tell. You could tell through the scuffle. And I just think it's important that we look at that end of the spectrum. Like you said, we have to look at both ends of the spectrum, right? I don't
Yeah,
think this was
yeah.
a hardened
But
criminal.
while we look at it, we can't condone one or the other, right?
No,
Obviously, we don't
absolutely.
condone the
I just
deaths,
don't
but we
think this
can't
was
condone beating
a
ass.
hardened criminal. So I don't think that it warranted after the scuffle happened, right? Was what do you think could have been done to ensure that it didn't go to that next level?
So here's my thing. Deadly force is only supposed to be used when it's an imminent threat that is life threatening, correct?
Correct.
That's how it's always been described to me. Our grandfather was a police officer. Mom's dad was a police officer who was shot in the line of duty and survived it. I don't know how many combos you had with mom about that, but there's no hatred towards police
Absolutely not.
at
One
all
of
from.
one of our beloved cousins, shout out to Jennifer Revelle. She's a
Yeah.
she's a former police officer. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So there's tons of love there. It's more of understanding. There's tons of videos where you can go and see things happening the right way. So the issue I think that is definitely apparent is he's running away. Where's the imminent threat? I don't care if he had a taser, he pointed it. It doesn't matter if he has a taser or not. There's two police officers. A taser to me does not mean imminent threat about to die. Now, I saw some craziness on your Facebook, someone trying to explain
Yes.
that
And by the way,
a
guys,
taser
so
can
this
kill
morning,
somebody,
right, I had a
which
I had
it
a debate on
can.
Facebook, guys, and I have almost 200 comments on this Facebook post that he's talking about in particular.
Yeah, you got some foolery. You got some friends you need to hit that you
Ah,
got some friends you need to let go. I've been letting friends go left and right, and most of my really friends, I would say more associates, high school. Facebook, you just add everybody you know, and once you kind of find out, and I don't let go of people for just them having an opinion, but if someone is blatantly being ignorant, I don't feel I need that ignorant in my space. You know what I'm saying? It's time to let them go. Sometimes you got to snip, snip, snap. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
To be
But
honest, Dan, I had no idea that some of the commentary was gonna go left like that. It actually shocked me. So
oh yeah,
pretty
you got
eye
some foolery.
opening.
But back to the main subject. So things went left. He's running away. You can see in the video that it appears. I can't speak because I wasn't there, but it appears as he's fleeing the scene that he turns and shoots the taser behind him in the direction of the police officer. Now I can't tell if the police officer was hit. I was speaking with my girlfriend about it. She swears that he was. I don't know. All I know is that he was running away. There's not imminent threat, and there's countless of videos with people not of color that same exact situation was handled very, very differently.
Oh yeah, Dan, did you see the video I posted on that same post? There was a white man who not
Oh,
only
who stole the squad car?
stole the squad car and beat them
Oh
up,
man,
and no
yeah.
shots were fired.
So the worst thing that I saw in that video is the white gentleman. That's how we have to describe him. the white gentleman in that situation took the police's baton, hit the female officer, by the way,
He was whooping that
over
ass,
the
man.
head with the baton while the male officer was still trying to throw punches and fight him. And then he got up, knocked him down, got in the patrol car, and drove off. No shots were fired. I don't even know if he was tased. I only watched that one time, but it's just a crazy example of the difference. And there's others that I've seen too, where I saw another one where a white gentleman he had a actual firearm on him, and it was a complete night and day type of situation where the officers were subduing him and talking him down. It was almost like pit bull barking and the owner just saying, "Hey, relax, buddy. It's okay." It was a situation like that. And I think the outrage is, where is that when it's someone that doesn't look like them?
Exactly. All we're saying is really just treat everyone equally. There should be no
Not
you're
better,
feeling,
equally.
yeah, equally. It shouldn't be that when you see a black man you tense up and all automatically want to shoot. Like, treat Bob the same way you would treat Joe. That's all we're saying. Okay? Okay.
And I think a big part of that, which goes great into our next subject line, is the training for police officers needs to be vastly expanded and improved.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was talking to a lawyer friend. They have to study law for 6 to 8 years just to become a lawyer and defend or fight for the law, whereas these police officers are enforcing it within just 6 months. That's a
Right.
problem. I don't even know if they
Right.
have any re-education like doctors do, even physical therapists, and everyone has re-education. And police officers, maybe they do. So I don't want to misspeak because this is not me against police officers. I've had
Right.
this talk with wives of police officers and police officers who agree this should be at least a 2-year program.
Right. And shout
Policing
out
is not
also
something you
to,
just get 6 months and go out there with a gun.
absolutely, shout out to Willie Tree Roundtree, who also had some, he's a police officer, guys. Shares our last name, so I'm guessing we're related then. But he had some
Probably.
really insightful information just from a police officer's perspective, that I wish more police officers would vocally, outwardly say. Um, because just like you said, we have to look at both ends of the spectrum. He gave
Well,
some
share
really,
the info for
yeah, let me
sure.
pull it up. His initial comment, which has sparked a lot of controversy. People have been going back and forth with him actually, because it just does seem like people are angry. But like I said, he gave such a great feedback, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. He said, "I just finished watching all the body cam footage and Wendy's surveillance. To be honest, this is a tough one. Unlike George Floyd's murder, which I feel as though was premeditated murder, this situation is tricky in terms of him actively resisting taking the officer's taser and then turning back with the taser raised. I won't say he was about to use the taser because we don't know what was running through his mind at the time outside of getting away. Ultimately, everything was being handled professionally until the scuffle ensued. I'm not sure of ATL's use of force, but if your baton or taser is taken, you can implement deadly force. The gray area is now that most people just see another black man being murdered by police, so all the other intricate details don't really matter. Do I think the cop who shot him let his bruised ego get the best of him? Yes. There was other ways to go about apprehending him, like calling for additional backup. They fired him, but this shooting by the book would be deemed justified. Even though something is justified doesn't mean it's right. They could have continued to chase after him until backup arrived. Or this scenario, instead of trying to arrest him for DUI since he wasn't involved in an auto accident and they didn't see him operating the vehicle, they could have just locked his car up, took the keys, put them in an envelope to be left at the district, and sent him home in an Uber or Lyft so he could sober up, excuse me. I've done it many times before, but some officers, excuse me, are only focused on getting arrest when the situation isn't that deep, and now another life is lost over damn near nothing. Shaking my head. That was so insightful to me. Thank you, Willie, for sharing that on my page.
That's deep, and it's one of those things where it does feel as if, especially now, things are heightened right now. If you look at the whole entire USA, it's starting to feel like that toxic relationship that has so much mistreatment. That everything is a trigger. Because of course, I feel any black person who watches this will understand. Yes, that was wrong. His reaction was horrible. The fighting, all those things. Of course, he is inebriated. We can't make those excuses. But why is it always okay? Let's apprehend him. Let's put him in jail because X, Y, Z. Why
Well,
can't
I'll tell you why
why
here
can't
in
you write the
Georgia,
ticket?
just like what I
Well, I'm
told
just
you in the
saying,
last
write the
episode,
ticket. He can
Dan.
still get the ticket. Make sure he gets
Yeah,
home
it's a
safe.
money thing, man. When they arrest people, it looks good on their end. It's a
And that's
money
stupid.
thing.
And of course, you and I personally, sis, have had chats about mass incarceration. But I think before we don't want to talk about that. We'll save a video for that. But I
Right.
definitely want to dive into this. Goes along the lines of why the idea behind defund the police is important. And for me, when I heard the idea of it, I didn't like it. It sounded stupid. You hear defund the police, and I know a lot of people are trying to spin what it really means. First thing I was thinking is, well, what do you mean? Are you saying my community is going to be less safe? There's going to be less guns on the street? Because I don't want that. I don't want to, need someone or call someone and they're not showing up. And that's not at all what it means. Defunding the police is being more active about how these budgets are spent to put people who are more approved in situations like this. I
Right.
mean, just think about it, sis. If a social worker instead of a police officer, or maybe a social worker and a police officer showed up on the scene, but the
That's what I think
social
should
worker
happen.
was,
Definitely social
yeah,
worker and a police officer.
absolutely, because things do go left and people can take advantage. So in
Right.
that instance, you got a social worker and a police officer that show up together. The social worker is taking the lead, and instead of an armed person, an armed police officer already making the situation tense because the person is feeling like they're going to jail no matter what, you've got a trained social worker that is trained in de-escalating tense situations. Don't you think that that calm conversation will continue to remain calm and
Right.
not go left the way it did the minute that that officer put his hands on the young man? He freaked out. And again, I want to stress throughout this entire video, I do not condone his reaction. I can't condone any of that. It was bad. Of course, bad reactions lead to bad actions. I get all of that. But with the idea of defunding the police, that's why this is needed. And I was super against it until I did my research and understood that it does not at all mean there's less guns on the street. It's putting the right resources in areas that allow for the right responses. And Camden, New Jersey actually did this already. And you know what happened, sis, when they implemented this idea?
What's that?
Crime rates went down,
I can
skyrocketed, but not
imagine.
up. They
Because you know
skyrocketed
what
down.
nobody is talking about, Daniel? Nobody is talking about how beneficial it would be to have a social worker on site with some of these black men and women who actually have mental health issues that haven't been addressed. We never talk about that side of things. Y'all are
Oh,
so
yeah.
quick to arrest, but you never understand somebody's mental health and why they might react in a way that they do. Some people deal with trauma differently. So I honestly believe that the social worker thing, a wonderful idea. It would save a lot of people's lives, honestly,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I don't think these police necessarily know how to talk people down. They're just used to excessive force a lot of the times. Sometimes you could talk somebody down out of a situation. I really feel like that situation could have been diffused a few days ago with this young
Absolutely.
man.
There's 1,000 different other scenarios, and I don't want to take away from the police doing their job. They have a hard job. Let's make that clear. Your job is to make these quick decisions, but just like I read a Facebook post, it doesn't matter if your job is hard. Some jobs you just can't mess up. Pilots have a hard job, but if a pilot messes up, lives are we're talking tons of lives are lost. So
Right,
I'm tired of hearing, well, they have a hard job and that's hard to make that decision. That should be what the training is for. When I talk to
right,
any of my military friends, a lot of them are against 100% what's happening. I would say 9 out of 10 of my military friends with military backgrounds who have had to be in situations like this in foreign countries where they've had to subdue people that maybe even had some type of weapon, a knife or a gun, without killing them, so that didn't start a war. They show more restraint in the military than armed
right,
police are showing on the street to our
right.
own citizens. That's a problem, and
It's a problem.
it's bigger than a police problem. That is
Well,
a
it starts
system
from the
problem
top.
where they got to
Right, it
fix
starts
it.
from the top. And
Yeah, of
I don't want to get into politics right now. Maybe we'll do that
course.
another
Another day,
episode.
another
But
day.
just the rhetoric that has come from President Trump during this time is a little bothersome for me. And I'm keeping that as PG
Next
and as
subject. We
nice.
want to leave the
Right.
politics alone.
I know, but Daniel, I'm saying that because it starts from the top. And all these changes need to be made from the top. And the message that you send to American people, it does matter, Daniel, especially during these times when we're hurting. Our country is hurting. I saw a
I,
Facebook post today. One of my friends said she hates this country. That broke my heart. That broke my
yeah, it's
heart.
a bit extreme. I would never say just being privileged to be able to travel outside the U.S. a couple times. I would never say something like that.
But Daniel, I
Great
understand.
being a
I would
citizen.
never say it either, but I understand from somebody who is, maybe they come from a different background than us and they're used to seeing police violence. So maybe they might make a statement like that and really feel that way. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
I get it.
like I said, I understand it. I would be the first to tell you 9 out of the 10 of my interactions, all of them with police, have been negative. And since you know me, all my friends that know me, I'm a very professional person. In a lot of these instances, I had a full suit on, and I was still treated as if I was a threat,
Oh yeah,
purely just
Daniel.
because of how I look, and I don't
I
know.
was talking about you on the post too. I said my brother automatically is gonna get profiled. Me, not so much. Okay. I'm a petite, tall girl, so I kind of pass a lot in life because people think I'm cute. Thanks, mom, for that. Okay, but my brother, on the other hand, can walk through a door. How tall are you, Daniel? 6'2" or 6'3"?
Yeah, I'm 6'2".
Okay, walk through a door at 6'2" and a dark skinned black man, and he looks like Black Incredible Hulk. Okay, guys, and people automatically get scared of him. That's not cool.
Come
That's
on.
not cool, and y'all don't know what that's like. No, for real, Danny, you're a big black guy, and I've seen
Nah,
it. You might not have noticed it, but walking with you, I've seen how people will tense up when they see you.
I
For me,
always know.
it's I know, Dan, but this just reminds me. I want to tell a quick story. When I was working for Google, because y'all, we're a smart family too, and I was teaching Google education to elementary, middle, and high school students. And so I took a lunch break and sat out in the parking lot, and the police was called on me. Same scenario. I
Man.
was in shock. Couldn't believe it that the police was called on me because I was sitting in my car while black. And this is one of my first instances of like real racism because I was in another state at the time. Like,
And that was
of
in North
course,
Carolina, right?
that was in North Carolina. I handled it differently. I honestly was in shock, but I'm just letting you guys know that it does happen. It happens more often than you guys think, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And the other side of it is there are good interactions. I say 9 out
Absolutely.
of 10, and I know it sounds drastic, but that's just me being honest. In regards to how a lot of my interactions have gone, there is that one. There are those instances where I've come across a ton of amazing cops, even in situations where maybe it wasn't me being pulled over, and maybe I just saw something else happen, or maybe I was in a mall and I saw a police officer or even a security guard talking to some young kid or something like that, and you just see it and you're like, wow, that is a great example. If only more people would do it that way. So
Right.
of course you have that, but this all goes back, sis, to what we talked about in regards to the training needs to be prolonged. If
Right.
nurses, who nurses, by the way, all the time, including physical therapists, shout out to my lady who's a physical therapist, have to subdue people without using any deadly force. I've never heard of a nurse choking out somebody in the hospital that's acting crazy and actually has an actual mental health issue. For sure, it's certified at that point. If they can do this, why is it such a problem that on the street, especially when it involves people of color, it is not done correctly? The problem is the training isn't long enough. There's parts of my life that I did something for 6 months and I can't tell you one thing about it. Can't
Right.
remember any of it. You know what I'm saying? 6 months is not a long time. Make it a 2-year program. Get to a point where these officers are going through sensitivity training at least once a year, every year, not every once in a while.
Right. I agree. And of
But
course, I heard that President Trump was going to be passing some type of reform. We've got to hold cops accountable. Period. We have to. Black, white, Hispanic, whatever you are. If you are a police officer, it is your duty to protect and serve, not to brutalize. And
absolutely.
that's where we have to go with it. Just overall reform. But I'm just interested to see what that reform translates to be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm seeing all these organizations like the NFL and NBA are donating money to systematic racism being abolished, and my first thought is, how where is the money going to?
Right,
Because there's been charities around for 100 years. What are you doing to really prevent systematic racism? Obviously, I can't say, well, that 20-50 million dollars should go to black and brown neighborhoods. I can't say that. But what are they? Where's the money really going? Because when I hear systematic racism, that's something that is a personal characteristic trait.
right,
The system itself isn't a personal trait, obviously. So if you're putting it towards political reform and putting pressure on legislation, great. But outside of that, I am very interested to see over the next 5, 10 years where that money really ends up.
right. And I know you touched on training, but I do think that racial sensitivity, or however we want to word that, where it's politically correct, needs to be implemented. And we need to do like further background checks on these guys that are applying for the police academy to make sure that they're not affiliated with like I've seen recently cops that were affiliated with like the KKK and things of that nature. How did they not know that prior to hiring these people? How come you're just finding out if there's an instance of police brutality? What type of background search is being done on these people? You know what I mean?
I agree 100%, but since you got to remember, we live in a country where the KKK is still not deemed a terrorist group. So
But then would you want to hire somebody knowing that they have to deal with all races of people, knowing that they're affiliated with the KKK? Of
I
course
agree
they're
with
going to
you
have racial
100%.
bias. Like,
I feel this is a
I
big
don't know. I
problem.
know you can't discriminate against people, but that's a hard one right there. That's a very hard one because they're already going to be biased. You know what I'm saying? Out in the field, if I'm a hater of other races, of course I'm going to be more forceful. Of course I'm going to automatically have assumptions of different race groups and treat them accordingly. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, I agree. And that's why I mentioned that that's an issue that the KKK is still not deemed a terrorist group
But
nationally by
Black
the
Lives
government.
Matter, I've been hearing they're a
Well,
terrorist group.
Antifa has just been deemed a terrorist group. I don't know
Have
enough
they?
about
I
Antifa
didn't
to
hear
speak
that.
about it.
Okay, that's good to
Well,
know.
by President Trump, he put it in his tweets, so
Oh,
I don't
got
know
you,
if
got
he,
you.
I don't know if he made it official, but
Okay.
Twitter fingers turn to trigger fingers. So when he's around, sadly, but we're not keeping it political, so we're trying to steer
We're
clear
still
and
steering
be neutral,
clear.
neutral.
Neutral. Happy
But
people.
one thing I did want to mention, sis, as we come towards the end of this episode, is so political reform. I think a big issue that African Americans in general have is we are not putting pressure appropriately on these politicians to steer and do things that do affect us. And the reason for that, which I was listening to the Breakfast Club podcast not long ago, is Black people are inclined to vote Democrat no matter what. And when the Democratic Party knows they're going to get our vote no matter what, there's no change. That's like being in a relationship for 30 years and then you never got flowers, and then all of a sudden you're starting to expect flowers every single week on the week. It's probably not going to happen. Why?
I mean, I
Because
agree with
things
you.
are set in stone and they know that they don't have to try anymore. The honeymoon phase is long gone.
Um,
So the fact
and
of the
they
matter
also know
is,
too that a lot of our people, unfortunately, um, we come from lower income areas, and we aren't. Unfortunately, a lot of times we aren't informed like we should be. I saw that again when I was in North Carolina, and they were protesting then, and a lot of they had passed the law, and a lot of the people that live there, poor income Black people, weren't even aware of what they have voted for. That's
crazy.
another thing that is scary, Dan.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that many a times, and that's the danger of, okay, well, I'm just gonna vote Democrat no matter what.
Right.
They're for the middle class, and there's this perception, especially among African Americans, that well, you vote Republican and you're not voting for yourself because that's only for the rich,
Right.
unless you're Jay Z or Diddy. So I think that in order to really create true change, we have to one be unified in who we're voting for, and two be willing to switch parties or switch sides in accordance to whoever's going to affect our culture and people who look like us the most.
Well, Daniel,
And obviously, this
unfortunately,
this election is a wash. I'm not even
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
this
but
one.
unfortunately, I'm in Georgia, Dan, and the primaries were a few days ago, and
Yep,
black and brown people were turned away and could not vote. So let's stop voter suppression too, because that's really what it is. Y'all are denying people the right to vote. Get it together. All of us,
absolutely,
all of us should be able to show up at the polls because I heard in low income areas it took 6 to 8 hours. In white areas, you can go in and out 5, 10 minutes and place your vote. Let's again that word equality. We all just want to be treated equally, guys. How about that?
absolutely. Voter suppression should not be happening in 20 Like,
No,
it's
it should
crazy
not.
that people like LeBron James. Shout out to LeBron James again. I feel
The
like we
goat.
talked to him in every single episode. But shout out to LeBron, who is now forming a voters' rights group nationally with a couple of his rich buddies. Shout out to his other rich black buddies who are getting together to form this group to make sure that he, as a person in power, a person who is well to do, will never ever face this issue, but he's being cognizant enough to understand people who look like him, people from his hometown, people from other places that look like him are facing this. And this is a real issue in 2020. This
Right.
shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be, oh, well, we have new workers all over the state. Well, why is it that only in the predominantly African American areas it seems as if they're having to stay out till 10 and 11 at night during the week, a
Just to
school
place their
night,
vote.
or whatever it may be, just to place their vote, whereas the other counties that aren't predominantly black are in and out. That's you can't.
And it just makes it seem like y'all are trying to discourage black and brown people from voting.
Well,
That's
don't
really
say
what it seems
y'all,
like.
say they, sis. Remember, we're neutral.
Listen, I'm from the South. I live in Georgia. Y'all is an endearing term, okay? Y'all
Oh, I like
is
that. I
is
like that.
non-threatening, okay?
I
So
like
nobody get offended by me using the term y'all. I'm so neutral, I
I like that. Let them know y'all is enduring. She's saying it from
promise.
a place of motherhood and love. I like it. She's not a
Yes.
mother.
Nah, not yet. Well, I'm a puppy mother, so don't take that away
Yep,
from me.
yep, yep. That is true. Perfect, perfect. Well, those are definitely insightful things, sis. Definitely want to go ahead and transition to our little laugh out loud. So, if you don't
Okay.
know what laugh out loud is a segment where we talk about something that happened funny during the week or the last couple weeks. It's one of those things where you need to do a little chuckle, something like this. So, with
Oh my
this week's
God.
laugh out loud, I gotta take a big laugh at your boy Akon. Yep, the Akon, locked up, won't let me out. That Akon, apparently, he's making a little mixer. He sold the rights to his song "Locked Up" to 6ix9ine.
No, there's just
Uh,
it's locked up part two. He didn't sell it. They're
I
just
don't
doing
know. I thought
part two.
he's on the song part
He's
two,
on the song. Yes,
whatever.
part
I
two.
mean, it's crazy, and I think a lot of people were upset. I know Tory Lane spoke out, etc., because he wanted that song for years and years. But the thing about it is a little crazy, and it does seem as though he's trying to ride that wave of money because 6ix9ine, regardless of what you think about him, has a trail of dollars behind whatever he's putting out right now.
Let me
Because
explain
these
to
little
y'all.
young kids
Daniel,
love him.
just like what Nikki said, it's the music business. Akon said it's the music business. This man over here got his own Akon coin in Africa and building up Africa. He said, "Let me build up my income just a little bit more and collab with 6ix9ine." I'm not mad at it. It's a business move. He knows the
I
dude
get it.
can't. He knows
I
six
get it.
nine is trash. But
It's just funny. It's the backlash, people get so outraged, up at arms.
man, Akon ain't
Uh,
been
you know,
relevant in a while. He trying to get them numbers up.
I mean,
I'm
you
not
can't be
mad at
mad
you,
at
Con.
somebody trying to get some money. Hey,
You know what
capitalize,
I'm saying?
get that money. But it's funny, it's hilarious, the outrage. People just want something to laugh about right now with all the craziness going on.
Man. Well, shout out to Akon and 6ix9ine on Locked Up Part 2. I'm sure it's gonna get the numbers. I mean, 6ix9ine told you he's the king of New York, okay?
That guy.
That guy. So let's go ahead and just transition to our last segment, which is the Dumb Dummy of the Week.
Stupid.
And I'm gonna have to give it to President Trump. President Trump was
What'd he
going to,
do?
excuse me, he was going to schedule a rally on Juneteenth. And for you non-Black people who don't know what Juneteenth is, Juneteenth is also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day. It's an American holiday celebrated annually on June 19th, and it commemorates when the Union General Gordon Granger read federal orders in Texas, and all previously enslaved people in Texas were free. Okay, so this is a big holiday for Black folk. You know what I'm saying? We barbecue, we
Huh.
get together, we hold our Juneteenth shindigs or whatever. And so President Trump thought it might be appropriate to address the nation at a rally on Juneteenth.
No,
And
the
he
bigger
tried it.
problem there, sis, I just want to add in, not only on Juneteenth, in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Oh, I almost
at
forgot
the
that it was in
exact
Tulsa.
freaking site where Black
Yeah.
Wall Street was burned to burn.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
talked about this. Yeah.
I know. I forgot about that. He tried it, y'all. But bless
I'm
his
dummy.
heart, he's really trying to connect to the Black vote.
Hmm,
That the little bit that he has left. So
really?
um, gonna have to nominate you, President Trump. But I just want you to know if you do pass another stimulus check, just don't get mad at me for nominating you for the Dumb Dummy of the Week because you
Direct
deserve it. I'm
deposits.
so sorry, but yeah, I need that direct deposit,
I'm
President Trump.
surprised you didn't give it to Candace Owens, knowing you. But
I
she's,
mean, Candace
we
Owens
need a
was a
whole
close
episode just for
second
her.
from me, but yeah, I think we need a whole episode for Miss Candace Owens because, Mama, you are delusional. Okay, listen, you
Delusional.
are a Black woman, but whatever, whatever floats your boat. President Trump, once again, you are nominated for the Dumb Dummy of the Week. Candace, I think we'll be seeing you soon in that category, Ma, because you are
Yeah, we got
tripping.
the receipts for her. We got the receipts.
Seriously.
Well, most def, it's been another intriguing episode for sure. Always good chatting with you, sis.
You too,
Um,
bro.
Absolutely fun. I'm hoping that in the coming weeks we'll be a lot more lighthearted. We'll have better, more exciting topics to talk about,
But you
and
know what,
by
Dan?
better
It's
I mean
okay.
happier. I mean
Yeah,
situations where I don't have a swollen heart and my head hurt from hearing these constant tragedies.
but I think it's okay because we're the voices of our generation and we have to go with the times. So as long as you listeners don't get offended by us and know that we're neutral, it should be
Neutral.
okay for us to just talk candidly about race. We need to have these open conversations, and that's the post that I was trying to put out there today on Facebook, but it turned left. Hopefully, in the future, we can have these conversations and not curse each other out. What do you think, Dan?
I think we're getting there. We still have some disagreements, and that's a brother sister thing, but we're getting there. This
I'm
this week
talking
was good.
about I'm talking about being able to talk about race openly
Oh
with
yeah, we're
our
definitely
white
we're
brothers
there.
and sisters, and
We're
it's
we're
okay.
there. I've had
I
tons
don't
of
think we're
really good
there because there was a
conversations.
lot of anger on Facebook today, but I'm saying hopefully one day we won't curse each other out just talking about race. One day it'll be okay to talk about race and it's not a big deal. I mean, that probably won't happen until we have kids, Dan, but a girl can hope.
Well, I have a dream that I'll be able to talk to my coworker who is white about my oppression. We'll see.
Right,
He might get
right.
mad and feel uncomfortable and not want to have the combo. But that's okay too, because I understand this combo is something that is hard to have. So I think that more African Americans need to be understanding, but also not tolerant. We've been tolerant for 100 years.
Yeah,
So if that person doesn't want to have the combo because they don't want to feel uncomfortable, it's okay for African Americans also to be able to go ahead and write that person off. To
right.
also,
Wakanda forever.
yeah, take that as you don't want to have a combo because you don't want to be informed. There's a difference in information and ignorance. If you're choosing to be ignorant, you're not someone that needs to be in my life, no matter how close we are. And that's where I'm at. I'm at a point of I feel that I don't want to shove anything down your throat, and I'm willing to
True.
have a conversation when you're ready, if that's something you want to talk about, because there's so much of a lack of information in history. However,
Absolutely.
if you don't ever want to have the convo at all, and you're pretty much giving me that sentiment of, well, it doesn't exist anyways, I can't have you around me. You cancel.
Right.
You got to go.
Right. And shout out to all the people who unfriended me today on Facebook due to my open commentary about race. I
Big
hope
shout
you
out.
drown in your bathwater.
R.I.P. Rest in peace. Well, tell them who you are, sis. Let's wrap it up. Another great episode.
Yes, once again, my name is Danii Roundtree,
And I'm Daniel Roundtree.
and you're listening to
Tree Talk. We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye, guys.